Hello and welcome to the Course Wizards. I'm Christopher Maselli, your Course Wizards host, and I'm here with my other Course Wizards host, Amit Aurora. How you doing tonight, Amit?
What's up, Chris? We're finally using Ecamm.
We're finally using Ecamm, and hopefully this is coming through so much sharper and stronger than what we were using before, because we kept getting frustrated that everything looks so pixelated when we uploaded it, and Ecamm allows us to really look like pros on here, I think, don't you think?
Yeah, on my end, it looks crystal clear, man.
Yeah, you're crystal clear here too. So as long as it's recording like this, we're good.
And as long as my Chrome doesn't die on us,
Yes, that's happened a few times, but it
yeah,
shouldn't. You should still be able to jump back in. And this hasn't crashed on me yet. I've been using it for Facebook Lives and for another podcast that I do, the Writing Momentum podcast. And so between all that, I feel like it's working okay. So tonight, though, we're not talking about podcasting. We are talking about how to set up a blog like a pro in 2023. It's been interesting because there are actually some new ways that you can set up blogs. So we're going to talk about some of the familiar ways to set up a blog if you don't have a blog and how you can do that, the software, the apps you can use. And then Amit's going to show us one I'm really interested in seeing that's a kind of a new way to set up a WordPress blog. And so we're gonna get
yes.
to that in just a minute. How does that sound, Amit?
Yeah. Chris, why don't you kick us off? Tell us what's your tech stack of setting up a blog. And for those watching, listening, hopefully you're watching this because we're going to start getting into screen shares soon. But just what they should know is we are under the assumption that you want to spin up a WordPress blog. And then we'll also show you my Medium blog and show you like the differences between the two.
Yes.
And we are also assuming you know some technical stuff, right? Like getting a domain, setting it up, all of that. If not, we have multiple episodes we can link in the show notes.
That's right. We've talked about a lot of these things before in some detail. This is going to be more of an overview to let you see that there are multiple ways that you can set up a blog, depending on whether you want to be not technical at all and just work with your current training platform, or you want to get really technical and into it, but do some really fancy stuff too. So the most common way I think to set up a blog is by setting up a WordPress blog with a host. And that's what I do. I actually do my own hosting, but before I did my own, I used SiteGround. That was my favorite host at the time. And SiteGround has some nice packages for WordPress blogs. You can sign up for SiteGround, they give you the hosting, and then you can one click install your WordPress blog. It literally is just a click. You fill in some information and you've got a blog up and running. And then you can add some themes to it and that good stuff. But then all you have to do is you go in, say, "Hey, I want to create a new post." You use WordPress like you would any other time, and you've got a blog out there live. And for most of my clients, when I set up a blog for them, really for all my clients, I set up a WordPress blog in the same way. We put them on a host, we one-click install WordPress, we design their site, and then they can start blogging on that platform. That's probably the most common way to use WordPress, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I would say so. And for those who haven't used hosting, what you're saying, Chris, is SiteGround is a service that provides like the house for all your files to live in, right? All your
Yes.
plugin files, everything lives on your hosting server.
Yes, that's right. So when I say one click install, they've essentially got like a macro so that when you click install, it puts WordPress on that server so that the world can see your website. So yeah,
Yes.
that's if you're going to do it yourself, that's probably the most common way to do it. Now, before we get to the special one you want to show us, Amit, what's another way that someone could set up a blog if they don't want to even go through all the mess of setting it up themselves?
Yeah. So if you want to stick with WordPress, then, clearly hire someone on Fiverr, Upwork. So many people, right?
Yeah.
Sell these services. You can get them a dime a dozen and they can set it up for you. Or I've used Medium, which is super fast. As far as ranking your blog, it's probably the fastest, but it doesn't have the bells and whistles. It doesn't let you inject like code, whether it's Google Analytics code or Facebook Pixel, because they truly want the audience to be their audience, not yours.
Yeah.
You can enable charging on Medium, which means if I'm a Medium subscriber and I pay $50 a year, I think it is, as a subscriber, they will give you part of that revenue depending on how many people visit your blog.
Yeah, that's interesting. So it's a way you can monetize your blog and get viewers pretty quickly. You just go to medium.com and you'll see that you can input the name of your blog and put your name, and suddenly you can start blogging. And in addition to Medium, there are other blogging platforms.
There's
There are a
Ghost
lot
is
of them
another good
out
one.
there. Ghost?
So there's Ghost.
Yeah.
You could blog in Notion and connect your Notion template to something called Super.
Yes.
Super.so turns your Notion website into a blog, turns your Notion page into a website, I
Yeah.
should say.
And actually,
Those are like plug and play.
WordPress even has their own blogging online if you don't want to install your own on your website at wordpress.com. So that's another way to do it too.
Yeah.
And then
then, of
I
course, Newsletter.
And then New Zealand, this is probably the most the easiest way if you've already got some training software that you're using, right? You're doing online training, you're teaching people how to walk a dog or train a dog, whatever it is your training is about. And your training software probably has some kind of blog functionality in it where you can go ahead and post things to the web, try to get some SEO juice there, but they don't usually do that great and they're usually pretty limited in features. So we don't usually recommend that. We both use New Zenler for our course training platform. Neither of us really use the blog all that much just because we'd rather use WordPress, which is better with SEO. So
Yeah.
that brings us then to what Amit's going to show us. This is a new way to install WordPress. Is this without a host, Amit?
Yeah. So how I came about this is I have my SiteGround, right? Before
Yeah.
that, I forgot Bluehost, HostGator, one of the two. The thing that Chris, is with any of these hosting companies, they will give you super cheap upfront, right? It was like
Yes.
$150 for 3 years. And those, you're like, oh yeah, 3 years, I'm good. You start building your websites onto your SiteGround account. Next thing you know, you have 10, 15, 20 websites.
Yeah.
And now you don't want to lose them. But at the end of 3 years, that 150 was essentially $50 a year. Now they have tripled it. Now it's $650 for the
Yes.
next 3 years. I'm like, I don't want to keep doing it. I want to find a way where they charge me whatever the cost is based on the amount of usage. And if I'm not using it, charge me less. But if I'm using it, it allows me to scale. That's where this came about. So this is a hosting company called Vulture. They are the host. And then on top of that, they provide services to install WordPress. It's a tiny bit technical, but instead of what SiteGround charges is for the user experience, right?
Yeah.
This one, the user experience is a little more broken out. So you have to pay a little bit extra
Okay.
in your technical expertise, not in the money.
So this is going to cost a lot less. How much does this cost, did you say, compared to?
Yeah. So my lowest server is $5 a month. And if you start charging more, they start charging you more if you start getting more traffic, which means you're using more bandwidth of your files to the visitors.
Yeah. And you just need one server, is that right?
One server. And you get
Yeah.
to pick what server, what type you want, and then you can scale it. If you start seeing more traffic to your site, you're like, oh, I need to scale my server now, which with shared hosting, you cannot do. If you go on a
That's true.
SiteGround shared server, you're stuck with that server and its size, and you can upgrade it, but it's going to cost you a lot more.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so we are about to now get a little technical, I have a feeling, because Amit's actually going to show us how he sets a blog up on Vulture. So if you're listening, we'll still try to describe to you what we're doing here, but we also are going to make this available on YouTube. So just search for the Course Wizards on YouTube and you'll find this particular video, and I think you'll enjoy this. So are you ready to start looking at this, Amit?
Yes, let's do it.
All right, so here we go. Here's Amit's screen. You can see it right there. And already
Let
this
me
looks more
first,
technical.
yeah. So first of all, let me just go to Vulture,
All right.
their website. Yeah.
So this is VEULTR, Vulture,
Yep.
VEULTR.com. Yep,
Yep.
.com.
And then we are looking at 4 different options here on their main website home. You can pick cloud compute, optimized cloud compute, cloud GPU. GPU is more for like cloud gaming.
Gaming, yeah.
And then bare metal also for gaming and maybe even mining.
Wow.
And I typically stick to just the cloud compute. It says easy to use, affordable VMs. VM stands for virtual machines for many common workloads.
All right.
And you can see the lowest one, $5 a month, also has an hourly price of 0.00 cents
Per
per
hour.
hour. Yeah. Not even a penny, right?
Yeah.
And it gives you one virtual CPU, 1 gigabit of memory, 1 terabyte of bandwidth, and then 25 gigs of storage. So that's the one we're going to spin up today. And as, like I said, as you scale, you can scale your server with you to the higher servers. They go up to like $40, $60, $80, $640 a month. That's when you're getting like hundreds of thousands of
Yeah.
visitors.
So now, just to keep this in perspective, if you do a basic WordPress install, that might be up to about 250 megabytes, and they're giving you 25 gigabytes. So you will have plenty of room on for most uses if you just want to install a basic blog.
Yeah, so that's what it looks like now. I'm in mine. You'll see I've blurred some of the things just because those are like my different servers that I'm using today. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click here. See, once you log in, create a free account, get your billing set up, you're going to get into products. And then I'm going to click on plus on this deploying a new server. So I'm
Okay.
going to assume that I'm deploying a new server, right? So we're going to click
So
on
does this
that.
mean we're going to buy a new $5 server?
We're going to buy, yeah, I'm going to
Okay.
nuke it after this.
Yeah.
Now, the first one they would choose for you by default is the optimized cloud compute, which is $28 a month. I'm like,
Yeah.
done with
They
it.
want you to spend a
Let's
little
go to
more,
the
don't they?
$2.50.
All right.
Now you get to pick like the different, what kind of machine. So think about it this way, Chris, you're shopping for a computer. This computer is going to run your website.
Yeah.
This computer is connected to the world, right? That's what this hosting server is all about. This way we get to actually see for the first time what a server is made up of. In this case, I can decide what that server is made up of. So I can say, give me the AMD high performance chip that's on it or the Intel high performance chip.
Very interesting.
You can see when I click on either one of these, the price here down below doesn't change. When I click on the regular performance one, it goes down a bit. But if I click on the high performance one, it's $2.50 more.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you
So
can
for most
choose.
people, you can just go stick to regular performance. Let's go to the high performance because I'm going to show you how to drop this cost even more. Right now, the cost to run this server is going to be $14.40 per month plus additional 8.25 sales tax. So we're
Okay.
going to bring it down a bit. Next, I get to pick where my server location is. So our listeners could be from around the world. They might have traffic that's just local to them, in which case they want to pick their continent and then the country that's closest to them within that continent.
Okay.
Right now it's auto selected LA. I'm going to change it to Dallas where I'm located and then we continue. Now this is where the magic happens. The server image is it's the operating system that we know as cPanel, right?
Yes.
cPanel is our control panel. And they don't have cPanel here, but they have something similar called Plesk. So I'm going to
Okay.
use Plesk.
Now I see
And
WordPress right there. It's also available. Oh, and there is cPanel there. They do have cPanel.
yeah, but look at the charges for cPanel.
What?
Yeah, they charge you
Okay.
an extra $28 a month for cPanel.
Okay, so we
But
won't do that.
we're going to go to a Plesk, which is something similar. It's a little bit extra techy, but as long as our listeners can point and click, we should be good.
So explain to us why we would choose Plesk over WordPress or the Open Lightspeed WordPress.
Yeah, so frankly, I have no clue because I have seen a YouTube video and I saw Plesk and I understood in the video what they were doing with Plesk. I'm like, I'm going to stick to that.
Okay. Okay. Fair enough.
And let me just shut my night light off. I think my screen just got darker. Here we go. So I'm going to select this Plesk web admin, which is $0 a month, right? And then finally, server size, you can see the default is 50 gigabytes. I'm going to
Yep.
change it to 25 gigs. Now you can see my server
$7 now a month.
$7.
Yeah.
But because they have enabled automatic backups, I'm going to say, no, I don't need the automatic backup. So it's down to $6 a month. And all this free stuff, I'm going to just say enable virtual cloud, enable IPv6. I have no clue what it is, but sure, let's enable it.
Then
Now I'm
you
gonna
get
give
you
my
get an
server a name.
SSH key, it looks like, for free with it. And then you're
Yeah,
naming
so
your
it gives you
host.
the SSH key, but we're not going to get that.
Okay.
All right. So far, what we have done is we have picked our cloud compute. We have picked our chipset, which is the AMD high performance. Then we have picked our region and we have picked our marketplace app, which is similar to cPanel. We picked our server size which goes up to $144 a month. We're going to stick with the $6 a month. And I can bring this even down, Chris, if I go pick that CPU and storage technology to regular performance. Oh, that actually went up because it auto defaults to this one.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So now it's down to $5 a month. So yeah, you can get this down to $5 a month for a website.
$5 a month, because that's not bad, especially if you don't, which in most cases, these websites are not going to scale for years. Even
Right.
if you can either scale them by pouring lots of money running Facebook ads, but still you're not going to get millions of views a month. So there's no reason for us to start small. I think we always think, "Oh, but we want to get the best, the best. Because no one's going to come to your website, so who cares?"
How
And
many
then I'm
WordPress
just,
installs can you put on this Plesk
it's
server?
one per server.
Oh, it is one per server. So that I thought maybe that was the difference between just choosing like the Lightspeed WordPress versus the Plesk server, because it seems like you could probably just go for the Lightspeed WordPress and have it already auto installed and everything.
Yeah, so I have not done this one. Like I can do it, but I don't know if I'm going to get access to my cPanel because there's a little bit more to it
Oh, I see.
than just the WordPress install. You get some extra tools.
Okay. Okay, let's keep going.
And then I'm just going to hit deploy. So now what Vulture is doing is it's cranking out a brand new server, right? And not only is it cranking it out, it's now basically installing it for us. You can see there's this installing button here.
Yes.
So I'm going to let that install. And while that's installing, I want to see if you have any other questions while we wait for that server to install.
Yeah, so I'm interested to know though, if are you then paying $5 per WordPress install? Because that if you had 5 websites, that would be $25 a month, which is more than what you might pay on just a shared server.
That's a good question. No. So what I am doing is I am paying per usage. So some months I'm being charged $5, some months I'm being charged. It's going to be minimum of 5, but it could be more depending on how much bandwidth you consume. And I see your point, but the point still remains. Even if I pay $600 to SiteGround, if I only have 5 sites running, why am I going to renew at the $600 here? My 5 sites are going to cost me $25 a month.
Yeah, so it seems to me like that maybe there's an analysis you need to make as to how many sites you're going to do and how much it might cost you. So if you create under 5 sites, you might do better just on a regular hosted shared plan because they're probably not going to charge you but about $25 a month. However, if you start to get where you're doing 10, 20 sites, you'd be better off to do it like this because you could save more money in the long run and have a little more control.
Yep.
Yeah, interesting. Are you ready to come back to your screen?
Yeah, so server is actually up and running. That was pretty
All right,
fast, right?
let's look.
So we have this test server here. It says running and it's cost me a penny
It
just for
cost
the
you a
running
penny
test.
already. We'll have to get back to you on that one. Hmm.
And the server may still be finishing installing and booting up during the first few minutes. So if you don't see a console, don't worry. And we don't care about the console right now. What we're going to do is we're going to log into our cPanel, which is Plesk. So you
Okay.
see there's a login link here. I'm going to click that login link. I'm going to copy this root password. And your computer is going to think this connection is not secure, which is fine. All right, so I'm on my Plesk page, as you can see, Chris. This is basically the gateway to that cPanel through which we can do the WordPress install and all that fun stuff. I'm going to put my details here, the password. And this password can always be obtained from your server. You can see I have the username and password right here. So I don't need to remember any of this. I don't need to add it to my LastPass. Anytime I go in, I can just go in through my server. But these are only like the first few steps that you do once, and then you always just log into your WordPress backend. You don't really need to get into your server unless there's something wrong. Maybe you need to upgrade your server. Maybe you need to reboot it. Then you might want to go back.
Very interesting.
So you can see this Plesk server is being installed. Now, the next step is for me to add a domain. So again, this is where the technical part comes in, where most people just do it all in a hosting. But this I find more granular control, and you're not spending or wasting a bunch of money because most people don't have more than 1 or 2 websites. You do this for your clients, Chris. How many websites are you installing per client?
Oh, most clients have one website. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is, I find it a little bit more reliable, and I know that my costs are going to stay the same. This, which is what I care about, is they only cost me more if my traffic goes up.
Yeah.
So now I can install a domain, right? I can use a temporary domain instead of burning one of my domain. I'm going to say, give me a temporary domain because this is my playground. I'm just going to play in it. And this is great if you want to have a practice WordPress site. You can just spin up a server, get your practice WordPress site, and not really touch any of the main front end stuff till you get good at it.
Yeah.
So now I've been given a domain. So now I can go and install the WordPress site. Again, I understand it's technical, but that's why we are doing this step by step. And Chris, I don't think any of these steps at this point have been confusing.
Yeah, it's not that bad. If as long as you follow what Amit's doing here, you can pretty much just go through, like you said, step by step. But I'm still not seeing WordPress, so I know it's coming, right?
Yes, WordPress is coming. Here's the WordPress toolkit.
Oh, okay.
But this is why we want it to be in place, because now I have my access to my mail. So I can have essentially a email account that I can spin up, which most companies charge for.
Yeah.
But I can just go in here and create a new mail account that's connected to my domain that I don't need to pay extra for. So that's the first benefit of doing it this way.
Yes, that's excellent.
Now, when you said for your clients, is that, I'm guessing, also included in the hosting in
That's
WordPress?
included because because essentially when you do shared hosting like what I have, you or reseller hosting like what I have, you are essentially taking like a piece of the big pie that they have created and they've created email for everyone. So then you can just pass that on to your clients.
Gotcha. And is that, I'm guessing there's a limit because there should be, right?
Yes, there's so many tiers. So like up to 25 clients, it costs so much. And then I can do up to 50 clients and then 75. Each one of those raises my price. I can offer whatever I want. So if I want to offer unlimited email, I can. The email addresses are not a problem. It's the storage of email on the server if people want to store it on the server. I usually encourage my clients to use Gmail to pull their email into that through the custom domains. But anyway.
Okay. All right. So the part that you've been waiting for,
There we
WordPress.
are. We're going to install WordPress.
Yeah. So you just click on WordPress here and then you click on install and just go through, hey, what domain is this being installed on? What's the website title? Any specific theme set you want to use? And all of this can be changed later once we log into WordPress.
That's
But you
pretty
can
slick.
also define like your database and whether you want automatic updates and whatnot.
Okay,
So
good.
I typically just leave all of that blank as long as my domain name is set. And then I just tell it to install. So again, we have our server, and this is where everything is being installed, is on my server. So this CPU usage starts going up as you start installing more and more things onto your WordPress server, or
Yes.
onto your server, I should say.
And the bandwidth goes up the more traffic you get.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So installation is complete. As you can see now, the next step is to log in. So I can simply, there was a login button here, right here. So I can go log into my WordPress. It's ready, it's installed, and I can start using it. And this is what you're used to seeing. Now, the difference between what you're used to, Chris, and most people is you just do all of this with one click.
That's right.
And that's what they're charging me for, is that one click install. Here, there were a few extra clicks, but nothing that was super technical that people would be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I have to write 50 commands to do this.
That's awesome. Okay, so bottom line, if you are someone who's doing your course creation and you are wanting to have a blog, there are a lot of different ways to do it. One of them is to use something like SiteGround and do your one-click install for WordPress, but you will over time pay quite a bit for that, depending on who you choose and how many blogs you have, especially if you have a lot of blogs. Let's say you have a lot of small training sites and you want to have a lot of blogs, that could become very expensive very quickly. Other people like to use services that are just out there on the web, like Medium or like you blogging on your training platform. But there is this option called Vulture, Vultr. And with Vulture, you can install your own server, put WordPress right on there, It doesn't cost very much at all, and it wasn't actually too technical. I think that's pretty cool. I could see this being useful for in definitely certain situations, especially if you have a lot of blogs.
Yep.
Yeah, very
Absolutely.
nice.
And if you're starting out, I would say go with Medium, right? There are pros and cons to it. The thing with Medium is that it doesn't allow you for email capture. You have to always send people away from Medium if you want to give them a lead magnet or whatever. But even that works. If you have a great article, you get it ranked, people will click and follow you to get that extra freebie.
Yeah, yeah, and lead magnets are important. We've talked about that many times on this podcast, so definitely don't not do a lead magnet. Whatever blog platform you use, make sure you got a lead magnet on there.
Yes.
All
So I
right.
think you already did the recap.
Yeah.
So all I have to say is for those listening and watching, subscribe to the pod and keep creating. We'll see you on the flip side.
Bye-bye.